The world was a symphony of terrifying sounds for little Pip. One moment he was nestled, warm and safe, against his mother's soft fur, the next he was tumbling, alone, into a world of cold, unforgiving concrete. The scent of her milk was replaced by the acrid sting of garbage, and the comforting purrs were drowned out by the clatter of metal and the screech of scavenging birds. He was lost, utterly and completely. He wandered for what felt like an eternity, his tiny paws aching, his meow fading into a pathetic whimper. Then, he found it, a mountain of discarded refuse, reeking of decay. It was a dump, a wasteland of forgotten things, and it was where his nightmare truly began. A group of teenagers, faces flushed with cruel amusement, spotted him. Pip didn't understand their taunts, their kicks, the searing pain that blossomed on his tiny body. He was a plaything, a target, their laughter a chilling soundtrack to his suffering. He fought back, with the desperation of a creature facing annihilation, but his small claws and teeth were no match. The last thing he remembered was the searing pain, then a dizzying blackness. He woke to a gentler touch, a softer voice. A girl, perhaps a teenager herself, with long, blonde hair and kind eyes was cradling him. Relief washed over him, a small flicker of hope igniting in his battered soul. He purred weakly, wanting to trust, wanting to believe he was safe. But his relief was short-lived. This girl, under the guise of care, was just another tormentor. Her gentle strokes turned into prods, her soft words into mocking whispers. The same fear, the same pain, enveloped him once more, and he wished for the sweet oblivion he had briefly tasted. He doesn't know how much time passed in this fresh hell. He was a shell of his former self, his spirit broken, his body ravaged. He was thrown into a dark, damp basement, forgotten, left to rot. Then, a new scent filled the air, not the harsh reek of decay, but something softer, warmer. A woman, her face lined with a weariness that spoke of a life lived with compassion, found him. She knelt, her calloused hand gently cupping his trembling form. He could barely move, his paws swollen and oozing, his bones feeling brittle as glass. She didn't flinch, didn't recoil. Instead, tears welled in her eyes as she carefully lifted him, the weight of his misery feeling like lead in her arms. Her name was Anna. She saw not a mangled, forgotten creature, but a soul that still flickered with life. She took him to her tiny home, the scent of disinfectant and warm food replacing the stench of the basement. She spent days tending to his wounds, feeding him with a syringe, whispering words of comfort he couldn't understand, but felt nonetheless. The vet's grim diagnosis of the infected paws, the possibility of amputation, didn't deter her. Anna was relentless. She borrowed money, sold possessions, and spent countless hours researching, hoping, praying. She had never felt such a powerful drive to help a living thing. After a difficult operation, and days of constant care, she slowly, painstakingly, nursed him back to life. Pip, once a mangled ball of fur, slowly transformed into a sleek, playful cat. He purred deeply, not out of fear, but of contentment. He had a new life, a life filled with love, patience, and warmth.